All right, without any further ado, we'll go ahead and we'll begin talking about Chapter 16. And first, here's a picture of the 2009 IBC. And what we like to say here is that in order to understand the changes and to use the changes, it's absolutely necessary to have a copy of the 2009 IBC. We did a seminar on this subject in December, and we asked the group how many of you have a copy of the 2009 IBC, and only about 10% did. So those without it were at a great disadvantage because it's helpful to follow along or look things up as we go through this boot camp. Now, in your IBC, the changes between the 2006 and 2009 edition are shown with black bars in the margin, so you'll know where changes have taken place. And an arrow in the margin, a black arrow, indicates a deletion in the code. So that's good to know. And this publication came out in March of 2009. Now, this is really good news, and some people we find are not aware of it, but the 2009 IBC continues to reference ASCE 705, which is the same minimum loads standard that was referenced in the 2006 IBC. This book came out in November of 2005, so many of you have been using it for a while now, and there is not as many changes as we typically have between two editions of the code because we are using the same minimum design load standard. But as we go through boot camp, it would be ideal to have a copy of both the 2009 IBC and ASCE 705 handy. And we've tried to do the best job that we can to make it very clear which section we're referencing, whether it's from the IBC or whether it's from ASCE 705. A question that we get quite often is, okay, tell us, what's the damage? How many new standards are we going to have to learn? How many new standards are we going to have to purchase when the 2009 IBC becomes effective? And so what we've done in this slide and in the next slide is we've listed the most commonly referenced structural standards in the IBC and the corresponding edition. So here is a list going from minimum design standard to concrete standard to masonry standard to structural steel standard to structural steel seismic standard, cold form steel standard, wood standard, and special design provisions for wind and seismic wood design. And these are the additions, the corresponding additions right here. And if you're wondering, well, how do I know what the addition is that's referenced in the code? You just have to go to Chapter 35 of the IBC. So that's Chapter 35 of the IBC will tell you what edition is referenced. Now, this is the slide that really catch your attention and provide you the answers you're looking for as far as our new standards referenced in the 2009 IBC. In red here, you will see which standards are new. A later edition is being referenced. So if you are designing in that material, if you're designing in concrete, masonry, cold form steel, or shear wall diaphragm design, then you will need to get these new standards with the latest years that are referenced. I think a lot of people are very happy to see that for steel design, the same standards are referenced, and for the NDS, the same standard is referenced. And we've talked about ASCE 7 being the same. Now, in the previous slide, this was referenced as ACI 530, which is the masonry design standard and the masonry specifications. Now it is being referenced a little bit differently. There are 3 promulgating organizations for the masonry standard. There's TMS, the Masonry Society, ASCE, and ACI. And it is now being referenced using the TMS acronym. So that's just a little thing to know as you're working with the 2009 IBC, that when you see TMS 402 being mentioned, that is referring to the masonry standard. This slide is just a list of what we view as the structural chapters in the IBC. They have been the same chapters or same chapter designations for corresponding subjects since the 2000 IBC. And this is basically the outline for what we'll be covering in boot camp. And we won't be covering Chapter 20, Aluminum, but we'll be covering these two chapters today, and then 18, 21, 22, 23 tomorrow morning, and then we're saving what SK may think is the best for last. Just kidding. Concrete in the afternoon tomorrow. So there are quite a number of changes found in ACI 31808 such that we're dedicating the whole fourth web seminar boot camp session to that subject.